You wake up tired, even after sleeping for 7 hours. Your belly fat feels harder to lose than ever. Your energy crashes before noon. You eat less, but somehow gain more weight. And no matter how healthy you try to be, your metabolism feels slower every single year. For millions of adults over 50, this becomes deeply frustrating. Because they're trying. They're walking more, cutting calories, buying healthier foods, avoiding sugar, drinking more coffee just to stay energized. And yet, the body still feels stuck. What most people don't realize is that metabolism after 50 is not destroyed overnight. It slows quietly, gradually, through small daily habits repeated over and over again, especially in the morning. Because the first few hours after waking up influence hormones, blood sugar, inflammation, energy production, and even fat storage for the rest of the day. And unfortunately, many normal morning routines are secretly working against the aging body instead of supporting it. Not because people are lazy, not because they lack discipline, but because nobody explained how differently the body functions after 50. Your hormones shift. Muscle mass naturally declines. Stress sensitivity increases. Recovery slows down. Blood sugar regulation changes, which means habits that once felt harmless can suddenly start creating metabolic problems that are almost invisible at first. Until one day, the fatigue becomes constant. The belly fat becomes stubborn. The cravings become uncontrollable. And the body starts feeling older much faster than expected. But here's the encouraging part. Many of these metabolic problems are not permanent. They're signals. And once you understand the hidden morning habits quietly slowing the body down, you can begin reversing that process, one small step at a time. Because your metabolism is not just about calories, it's about communication. Your body constantly responds to the signals you give it every morning. And the first hidden habit quietly damaging metabolism after 50 is something millions of people do within minutes of waking up. Skipping hydration. It sounds almost too simple. But after hours of sleep, the body naturally wakes up dehydrated. And dehydration affects far more than thirst. It impacts circulation, energy production, blood sugar stability, brain function, muscle performance, even stress hormone activity. The problem is that many adults wake up and immediately drink coffee instead of water. And while caffeine itself is not necessarily harmful, starting the morning dehydrated while adding stimulants can increase stress on the body, especially after 50, because aging bodies become more sensitive to cortisol spikes. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone, and naturally cortisol is already highest in the morning to help wake you up. But when dehydration, caffeine, poor sleep, and stress combine together, the body can enter a prolonged stress state before breakfast even begins. And chronic stress changes metabolism dramatically. The body becomes more protective with energy, more resistant to fat loss, more prone to cravings, more likely to store abdominal fat, especially visceral belly fat, that deep abdominal fat surrounding organs. And perhaps the most frustrating part, people think they simply have a slow metabolism, when often the body is just operating in survival mode. This is why something as simple as drinking water early in the morning can make a surprisingly noticeable difference over time. Better energy, reduced fatigue, improved digestion, less brain fog, small habits, big biological effect. But hydration is only the beginning, because the second morning habit destroying metabolism after 50 is one modern culture practically celebrates: using caffeine as a replacement for nourishment. Millions of adults wake up exhausted and immediately reach for coffee, without eating anything nutritious for hours. At first, caffeine feels like energy, but biologically, it's stimulation. That's different, especially when the body lacks proper fuel. After 50, muscle preservation becomes incredibly important for maintaining metabolic health. And muscle requires protein, but many adults eat almost no protein in the morning. Maybe toast, maybe cereal, maybe nothing at all. Then coffee carries the body through the morning, while stress hormones stay elevated. This creates a dangerous cycle. Blood sugar becomes unstable. Cravings intensify later in the day. Energy crashes harder. Muscle maintenance declines. And over time, the metabolism slows further because the body is losing one of its greatest calorie-burning protectors, muscle tissue. This surprises many people because metabolism is not just some invisible speed. A large part of metabolic health comes from lean muscle mass. Muscle helps regulate blood sugar, burn energy, protect mobility, support hormones, improve insulin sensitivity. But after 50, adults naturally lose muscle faster every decade unless they actively preserve it. And one of the worst things for aging muscle is chronically under-eating protein, especially in the morning. That's why a protein-rich breakfast often changes energy levels dramatically for older adults. Eggs, Greek yogurt, protein smoothies, cottage cheese, nuts, high-protein whole foods, not extreme diets. Just better biological support. And once blood sugar stabilizes, many people notice something surprising. They stop feeling constantly hungry because the third metabolism-damaging morning habit, after 50, is blood sugar chaos disguised as breakfast. Sugary cereals, pastries, flavoured coffee drinks, fruit juice, white toast with jam. These foods create rapid glucose spikes inside the body. At first, they increase energy quickly, but then comes the crash. And after 50, the body often struggles more with these blood sugar swings because insulin sensitivity naturally declines with age. This means the body becomes less efficient at moving sugar out of the bloodstream. And when blood sugar repeatedly spikes and crashes, several things begin happening quietly. More fat storage, more inflammation, more fatigue, more cravings, more hunger. Especially around the midsection. This is why many adults feel hungry only 2 hours after breakfast despite eating plenty of calories. The body is reacting to instability, not true nourishment. And perhaps the biggest hidden problem, these constant blood sugar swings slowly exhaust the metabolism over time. The pancreas works harder, insulin stays elevated longer, fat burning becomes less efficient, and the body gradually shifts toward energy storage instead of energy usage. But here's what most people never hear. Stable blood sugar often feels emotionally calmer too, because the brain depends heavily on stable energy. When glucose fluctuates wildly, mood and mental clarity fluctuate with it. That's why many adults feel anxious, shaky, irritable, or exhausted after highly processed breakfasts. The body is riding a biochemical roller coaster before noon, and this leads directly into another hidden metabolism killer after 50. Sitting immediately after waking up for long periods of time. Many adults wake up, drink coffee, watch the news, check their phone, sit for hours. And unfortunately, prolonged inactivity affects metabolism much faster after 50 than it did decades earlier. Circulation slows, muscles become less active, blood sugar regulation weakens, joint stiffness increases. The human body was designed for regular movement, not necessarily intense workouts. Movement. And one of the most powerful things older adults can do metabolically is surprisingly simple. Gentle walking after meals. Even 5 to 10 minutes helps muscles absorb glucose more efficiently. This reduces blood sugar spikes naturally. Small movement, huge metabolic impact. Because after 50, the body responds beautifully to consistency. Not punishment. That's an important distinction. Many people think metabolism improves only through extreme exercise, but aggressive workouts combined with poor recovery can actually increase inflammation and exhaustion in older adults, especially when sleep quality is already poor. And that brings us to another major morning habit quietly damaging metabolism after 50. Ignoring sleep debt. This may be one of the most underestimated health problems in modern aging, because poor sleep changes nearly every metabolic system in the body. Hunger hormones increase, cravings intensify, insulin sensitivity declines, cortisol rises, recovery weakens. Then the next morning, adults try compensating with sugar and caffeine. The cycle repeats, and over time, chronic sleep deprivation quietly accelerates metabolic aging. The body becomes inflamed, exhausted, hormonal balance shifts, fat storage increases, especially abdominal fat. What makes this difficult is that many adults normalize poor sleep. They assume waking up tired is simply part of aging, but often the metabolism is suffering because the body never fully recovers overnight, and recovery becomes more important with age, not less. This is why healthy aging is not about constantly pushing harder. It's about improving resilience, supporting the body enough that it no longer feels trapped in survival mode. And surprisingly, one of the biggest morning habits damaging metabolism after 50 is emotional stress itself. Waking up immediately into anxiety, checking stressful news, reading upsetting messages, starting the day rushed and overwhelmed. The body interprets emotional stress biologically. It doesn't separate mental stress from physical stress very well. Stress hormones rise either way, and chronic cortisol elevation influences everything: fat storage, blood sugar, inflammation, appetite, energy, sleep quality. Especially after 50, when the nervous system becomes less adaptable to constant stress overload. This is why calm morning routines can become surprisingly healing. Natural light, hydration, slow movement, protein-rich meals, quiet walks, breathing space before chaos begins. These habits tell the body, you are safe. And safety changes metabolism more than most people realize, because the body burns energy more efficiently when it does not feel constantly threatened. This is one reason stress management becomes biologically important after 50, not emotionally weak, biologically necessary. And then comes another hidden metabolism destroyer many adults unknowingly repeat every single morning, trying to eat as little as possible. This often comes from decades of dieting culture. People think, if I want to lose weight, I should barely eat. But severe calorie restriction can backfire badly after 50, especially when combined with low protein intake and muscle loss. The body adapts, energy decreases, metabolism slows, hormones shift, muscle tissue breaks down faster, and eventually weight loss becomes even harder because the body no longer feels safe releasing energy. This is why sustainable metabolism after 50 is less about starving and more about nourishment quality. Protein, fiber, hydration, movement, sleep, stress reduction. These support metabolism naturally. And perhaps the most dangerous morning habit of all is believing your body is permanently broken. Because hopelessness changes behavior. When adults believe nothing works anymore, they stop supporting the habits that actually create healing over time. But the human body remains adaptable far longer than people think. Adults in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond can still improve. Blood sugar control, muscle strength, mobility, energy, insulin sensitivity, inflammation levels, not through perfection, through consistency. That's the hidden truth modern health culture often ignores. Extreme routines are rarely sustainable. But small biological support systems repeated daily can transform how the body feels over time. And morning habits matter because they shape the body's metabolic direction for the entire day. One stable morning often leads to better food choices, more energy, fewer cravings, lower stress eating, improved movement, better sleep later that night. Everything connects. That's how metabolism really works. Not as one isolated system, but as a network responding to signals. And after 50, the body becomes far more sensitive to those signals than it used to be, which means small supportive changes often produce surprisingly meaningful results. More stable energy, less bloating, reduced cravings, better mood, improved waist measurements, stronger recovery. Not instantly, but steadily. And steady progress is what truly changes health after 50. Not punishment, not fear, not obsession. Support, consistency, understanding. Because your metabolism is not your enemy. Your body has been adapting to stress, inflammation, sleep disruption, muscle loss, and unstable blood sugar the best way it knows how. And once you start giving it different signals, it often responds remarkably well. One hydrated morning at a time, one protein-rich breakfast at a time, one calm walk at a time, one better night of sleep at a time. That's how real metabolic healing happens after 50. Quietly, gradually, powerfully. And in the next video, There's one common healthy breakfast food many adults eat every single morning that may be spiking